On this episode of Hustle Culture, we talk to Nick Graham, basketball trainer, leader, and author.
Difficulties break most, but make others. The way I read it is like that's the difference between a winner and a loser.
Yeah.
That's the difference between making that $1 million, starting your business, getting that NBA contract. You're gonna go through, you take 100 people, that's basically what it's saying. It's gonna be 100 people that's gonna go through this, and 99 of them are gonna fold. Are you gonna be the one tough enough to keep going? For so long I was afraid to fail, and then once I just became committed and just left that in the back, that's when I ascended. Every layover is very purposeful because we gonna go drop off your pride here. We're gonna pick up your character here. So now when you arrive to your destination, some people are gonna get there faster, but they're not gonna pick those things up. I just had a 3-hour conversation, sit down with God, and he told me this is what he needed me to do. So either get on board and help me or get the hell out of my way, unapologetically but respectfully. I don't have time to waste. So while you over here laughing and being petty and stuff like that, God is using me to save this dude's life. And so I'm not gonna be comfortable. I'm not gonna be content and chill out and be patient about that, because his life is on the line.
I hope you get at least a fraction of the value that I got while talking to Nick by listening to this podcast. Enjoy. Welcome to Hustle Culture. This is episode 12. I can't believe we're in double digits, but man, I'm excited to have someone super special with us today. Look, if you are into basketball, if you are into entrepreneurship and, making it and making money on your own, look, you're at the right place, because today we got someone who does those two things. And look, this story is super cool. I've had the pleasure of working with this person I'm introducing and taking 10 years to introduce. But man, I'm pumped. So today we have basketball trainer and just leader, Nick Graham. Say what's up, man.
What's up, man? How you doing, dog?
I'm doing good, bro. Thank you so much for coming on and for just chopping it up with me, man.
Yeah, no, I'm glad. You forgot something, man.
What'd I forget?
You forgot the newest thing to my title, author.
Author,
yes.
Of course.
Come on now, man. I worked hard for that one, man.
Dude, I know. Yeah. And I know we're going to go into it, and I want to, and I'm excited to talk about, because it's something that's really innovative and I haven't seen before. And, there's basketball themed books.
Right.
There's books on Christianity. I don't see both of them together.
Right.
And I mean, that's what you've done. You want to talk about your book for a little bit?
Man, first of all, look at the aesthetics. But yeah, it's God and basketball. It's just a collab of God and basketball.
Yeah.
Man, and now that I've written a book, now I got to be the promoter. And so now I got to work on my promoting skills. But I wanted to use a book to tell this story. It's a undertold story that needs to be celebrated. God and basketball, it really is a collab. James Naismith, the inventor of basketball, was a youth pastor. He was sitting in the pulpit trying to minister to some kids. They not paying attention. Goes home frustrated. How can I connect with these kids? Right? So he invents basketball.
Dang.
And basketball was invented to keep people to do something during the cold of winter, but more importantly, as he says, to win souls for the master and develop Christ-like character. So here we are, over 100 years later, and just to write a book that it encompasses that, like something written for the competitive athlete in a way that they can understand, digest, connect, and relate to, and not even just the competitive athlete, the competitor in general, because sports is the ultimate competition. And if you're doing it right, which is why everybody should watch this podcast, you got to hustle. Like if you're doing life right, you got to be competing in something.
Right.
So, yeah.
Dude, I love it, man. And, I got the pleasure of filming, just spending a day with you and seeing kind of what your day looks like. Because, somebody can be like, I'm sure people who are watching are wondering like, okay, but how do they intermingle? Like, because we know you're a dope trainer and you like actually know your basketball stuff, but you actually know the Bible too. And you've created a whole book about it and you lead your life in a way that's different than others, man. So being a part of that and seeing how, you've been able to teach people and more than just, being in the box of Christianity, just being a mentor and just a leader for these, young college cats that are trying to make it. Because we've talked about it before in private, like a lot of these people don't really have like somebody they can look towards in this world, you know, and I think it's great what you're doing, man. So for you, I mean, what kind of guided you down this road of like, man, I want to like help the youth and I want to build them up and like train them? Like what led you to that?
Yeah, man, I just think that, actually I operate out of a lot of what I didn't get out of the void that I had growing up and still have. I think that everybody needs somebody, or let me backtrack. So it's all organic, which I love. The ability to be able to connect and lead and help these like when we did the deal, when you came, you watched CJ, and I don't know if you remember, man, but he said something to the effect that he had given up on himself. He had downsized his dreams. He didn't think he was capable as much as a basketball player, but more importantly as a man that he was. And he said, like, the way and the conviction that I believed in him and spoke greatness, like legit, not just fluff stuff or not lies. Right. Like he could feel that conviction, and he was just like, man, if you believe in me, then maybe I should start believing in myself. And I never had that. And, as a basketball player and, as a young man, I just felt like I just needed one person to take time and just tell me what I was capable of, not to feed my ego, but just so I could believe, because I didn't, I didn't realize I was as good of a basketball player until I started training professional players after I got done.
Wow.
And I be playing them one-on-one, almost like a sparring partner, and I was beating them, and then I worked with Ty Lawson. We used to, when he was in his prime, and this was when he's one of the top point guards in the Western Conference. And I was able to, I'm not going to sit up here and overhype myself and gas myself or cap, but I was able to play on the same court as him. I couldn't guard him because nobody could, because he's so explosive. But I was able to get my fair share of buckets. So it wasn't, and so then I started going back, like, how did I not know I was this good? Well, when I was at a place where I didn't believe in myself, or, life kicked my butt or sport kicked my butt, and I didn't have anybody there, I wasn't strong enough to believe in myself, I guess. I think, sometimes if, we push people to grind and hustle and be competitive, like if you're going as hard as you can and you're challenging yourself. Like I heard somebody the other day, not the other day, but recently say, I ain't never lost nothing. I don't never lose. Well, if you don't never lose, you ain't living life right.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if you ain't taking no L's, then you in the wrong way. You're not challenging yourself. And so like if we're pushing people to challenge themselves, if that's the way you're supposed to live life, and when you put everything you have into something, I don't care if it's a business, I don't care if it's basketball, I don't care what it is. When you put everything you have into something and you come up short, like you're going to need somebody there to help you pick up the pieces. So I just try to be that for as many people as I can. So,
man, that's awesome. And it's nice to have that and to be able to be that for people, especially in sports and athletics, because that's, people say it's competitive. It's one of the most competitive things, because, I do videos, I do, all this stuff, but it's like, that's competitive, but it's not at the same level. And I don't pretend like it is. Like, people say esports and like, gaming and stuff like that. And credit to every gamer who's killing it and crushing it. But like, there's a difference when you got to work out 3 times a day and you actually put yourself through like your body, like actual work. Yeah. And yeah, man, you come up short. You come up short probably more there than you would in other aspects of life, just because it's hard. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's not an easy thing, and it's an actual grind. You know what I mean? Like a physical, like you can see the progress, you can see the things. And the beauty of what you do that I've admired, as I've been getting to know you, is that you don't just focus on that, but you go past that, beyond the physical and into the emotional, and like really developing people's minds and their mindsets and stuff. So we touched a little bit on losing and stuff. For you, man, in your life, tell us a little bit about your story and like what it, how you've learned from losses, as you would call them, and like how you've grown. What do you think about just the concept of losing and growing from that? Because that's a big thing that people don't talk about enough. Too many people talk about success and making it and hustling, but they don't see that there's dips in that. You know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I mean, you tell me when I stop, because it's, it's a lot. But I'm glad that we're doing this right now.
Yeah.
Because, the thing that God put on my heart, he wants me to, kind of push all my faith chips to the table by just exposing my vulnerability, exposing my failure, exposing me in a losing season.
Yeah.
See, most people, right, they promote the product, but they hide the process.
Wow.
Right. And so when you hide the process and only promote the finished, polished product, right, the people that follow you, the people that you influence, it feeds your ego and it promotes you and it makes you look good. But what is it doing for them? See, like God, it's the transformation of me as a man to write this book has been unbelievable. He just organically humbled me. And then through that, the mantra or the mindset where I'm at right now is I want the platform without the pedestal. See, most people on social media, they want that pedestal. And I used to probably be like that too. But in order for me to impact people, it's about the platform.
Yeah.
So with that platform, I want to inspire and I want to encourage people. And the only way I can do that is if I celebrate and, promote my vulnerabilities, not for somebody to feel sorry for me. It's like Fab says, keep reading, I know how the story ends or something like that. I know how my story's going to end. You know what I mean? Because my faith tells me that. So because I know how it's going to end, I have no problem. It's almost like a movie.
Right.
Nobody wants to see a movie where it's just all valleys. So I don't have any problem showing you the peak because I know how this is going to end.
Yeah. So
because of that, I'm glad that I'm here right now to talk about where I'm at and where I've been and where I'm going. But, it's, through the losses, I've had a lot of, losses. I've had a lot of failures and every single one of them, I read a lot to inspire myself, but I think they said most millionaires that are self-made, they had to go through significant failure to get through their success.
Right.
Not natural, not normal, not just the average failure that most people like a deep failure, like the failure when you see somebody I don't see how they're going to come back from that.
Yeah.
That's the failure they have to go through. It's like Nelson Mandela says, difficulties break most, but make others. The way I read it is like that's the difference between the winner and the loser.
Yeah.
That's the difference between making that $1 million, starting your business, getting that NBA contract. You're going to go through, you take 100 people, that's basically what it's saying. It's going to be 100 people that's going to go through this and 99 of them are going to fold. Are you going to be the one tough enough to keep going? To keep standing up? And you remix that with what the Bible says. It says a righteous man falls multiple times, but he gets up. What makes him righteous isn't the fact that he fell, right? It's the fact that he gets up. So as long as you fail and you keep getting up, you good. You good money. So that's just kind of been my mantra. I was telling somebody the other day, it's different when you read something, you hear something, whether it's spiritual or non-spiritual, but it's different when you live it.
Right.
These are things that I've had to live to start my business, to write a book, to restart my business as I'm doing here. I've had to literally do that. And it's required me to sleep in the car. It's required me to start when I started my training in Denver, I had $20 to my name. And then obviously most recently, we talk off the air, I'm sure we'll get into it. In order for me to write this book, I had to move back home.
Wow.
After being an accomplished adult, which was not what I wanted to do. And it ain't no fun, but you got to do what you got to do. You got to go through some L's. You can't go around them. You can't go under them. You can't avoid them. You got to go straight through them.
Right. Dude, that's amazing. And I can't agree more with what you're saying. It's like I always say, too many people overhype the end of the story, like you said. But let's go back into what you kind of dipped into, what makes a good movie. It's the struggle is what makes the victory so much better. And Gary Vee, he talks about it all the time. He's like, I want to lose. He's like, I want to lose because I know that at the end when I win, it's gonna make the win that much more much more fulfilling. You know what I mean? And sometimes it was funny because as I was growing and I've leveled up mentally and stuff, so this is an immature way of thinking, but it's just funny how I thought about it. I was like, man, I kind of want to fail just because like so my friends can be like, oh, this dude sucks, and then I can like level up and be like, yo, screw y'all, I
Yeah,
told
no
you.
doubt.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, like
It's
I
just
feel you. I'm
like that,
with you.
man.
No, I get a weird. That drives me too. You know, like I really think that I really have a Mamba mentality gene. I feel like I pay attention to how people look at me when I'm down. Like I pay attention to them ignoring me and all that. And, that motivates me and that drives me. And sometimes I visualize that same person having to look at me and that energy is going to change. Like even my dad was my college coach and that was a nightmare. And, my dad, for whatever reason, I don't know why he had me on the team if he didn't believe in me, but he either didn't believe me or lost belief in me. I remember crying myself to sleep. I remember him not coaching me. Think about that. Your dad, your coach, and he just coach everybody else. Don't talk to you. And I just remember I was so driven to basically, have his respect.
Yeah.
Like he ain't gonna like he's gonna recognize. And the thing that's tough, like you mentioned, athletics, one of the many things that athletics teaches you. And this is why like youth sports competitive culture is failing our kids, and we're not using sport for what it is to develop leaders, to develop men, to develop women, head of households, head of the country, whatever. It's because like when stuff gets tough, we switch teams.
Yeah.
But the thing that sports teaches you is like, like you're an athlete, you could listen to this, or you could go listen to Eric the hip hop preacher and you get motivated and you start working hard for a day, for a week, for a month. Right. And then you still not starting. You still getting ignored. Like, what are you going to do? Are you going to keep showing up? If it takes a month, if it takes a year, if it takes 4 years, that's what sport teaches you. And that happened to me. Like I was so motivated. I remember, sitting on the end of the bench where you're playing the number one team in the country. And that's a like national TV. And everybody, you just feel this sense of failure. Like you're sitting on the end of the bench, people you grew up with, like, watching you sit on the end of the bench, that's what you're telling yourself. And like, it's a tough deal. And I just could not, it was a Saturday, I could not wait till practice on Monday. And I like looked myself in the mirror, and that's like literally how I became a man. Wow. Like literally in that moment, because it was like, okay, what can I control? I don't know if I'm gonna ever play, but I can control this practice. And when I go to this practice, when I walk through that door, like somebody gonna have to see me. And I just played with a rage. I was taking charges, doing this. And you know what happened? Nobody said anything for a day, for a week, 2 weeks. And I just kept getting more determined and more determined. And all of a sudden, the point guard had got hurt. And like when you put in the work, it's a different body language that it takes over you. So I pretty much looked at my dad. I was like, if you don't check me in, I'm gonna check myself in. Yeah. And that body language, without thinking, he put me in the game. I played so well, he couldn't took me out.
Right.
I remember playing so well and igniting my teammates and playing in a way. And I came back to the huddle, and my dad looked at me and like kind of shook my hand. And that's what I'm saying. I visualized that look. Like, you gonna look at me and respect me. May not be today, it may not be tomorrow, but at some point I'm gonna get your respect. And that same, drive has always stayed with me.
Dude, man, that's something that's so underrated in youth sports. I love that you said that, because people tell me, it's funny, I had my friend Arnold Lawson. He's a amazing like video production and creative director guy, killing it in the game, does wedding productions and stuff. And in the episode we did together, he was like, I forgot what he said. The word was anti-fragility. And he was like, something I've known since I've known you is I've seen you fail, but you're so anti-fragile. Like somehow, even though you had to get a little day job at Starbucks, even though you had to do all these little things, you still stayed in the pocket of creativity throughout the whole time. And he was like, I admire that. And I didn't know how to process the compliment, because I'm like, this ain't the first time. Like, similar to you, I was the kid in high school who was like, I didn't make the team the freshman year. And I was playing baseball my whole life. I mean, a little backstory. In Venezuela, where I come from, where I was born, baseball is the sport. Like, that's the thing. Yeah, right. If you look at the MLB, like, it's like 200 players are from Venezuela, all from AA to MLB. And so, like, that's the ticket out. You know what I mean? So as soon as we moved to Venezuela, my family, my dad, of course, he was like, you're going to play baseball. And I was excited. I loved it. I don't make the team freshman year because I was, like, not fast enough. I was overweight. That summer, my mom was a personal trainer. We trained in her garage every morning. I lost probably like 30 pounds. I like was lean. I beat my 60-yard dash and all that. I made the team, but still it was that whole thing. Like I was really good defensively. So here's the thing about baseball, right? In baseball, the offense is kind of what's praised nowadays, especially now. Like home run hitters, like that's kind of what I grew up in, that culture. But I love defense. Like I was a third baseman. I was like known, they call me the wall because like nothing got past me. Like I was that guy. But if you don't hit well, it doesn't translate. So I remember being like what you said, like looking forward to practice, and like legit people made fun of me because I tried so hard. Because in the gym, when we were pushing weights, like I'm doing so much, and when I was like actually fielding, like they would leave and I would stay, and I would like I'd get my friend who was a pitcher, I'd get him to hit me ground balls, and I'd get him to like feed me baseballs and stuff. It was like, nah, bro, like yeah, I might not be starting yet, or like I might, but you ain't gonna ignore the work, and the work ethic is what I'm gonna take with me even if I don't make it, and it's stuck with me ever since. You know what I mean? It's that thing. And I think sports, and like you said, the failure of youth, because participation medals and all this other stuff, you know what I mean? Like
switching teams because he's not starting. You know, switching teams because he's not this, because he's not. It's not the worst thing in the world if you get cut, because
it's probably the best thing
that fifth grader that's gonna get cut is gonna be a 25-year-old that gets laid off for nothing he did wrong. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I mean, it's the same thing in sports. You know, sports is the first time for a lot of people where you can do everything asked of you and still come up short. And if the first time you experience that is at 24, or 34, you're not gonna know what to do. You know what I'm saying? And that's why you have to go through it. And even speaking of failure, I think that like it's being specific about failure too. It's when you care. Like in my book, I take the rules for being human. Like I mentioned that. There's no mistakes in life. There's only lessons. Lessons are repeated until you learn it. As it relates to that, it's fail a different way every day kind of thing. I tell my kids that, like, man, did you fail today? If you fail a different way every day, right, where are you going to be 100 days from now?
Dang, yeah.
Fail a different. So as a basketball player, right, think about it. If I drive in every day, a hard drive with my weak hand into the paint, and I fail a different way 6 times, I'm going to be better. Like when you talk about having a standard of excellence and reaching your potential, it's not like, oh, people can, kind of finesse. Oh, it's okay, I failed. No, it's how did you fail? And how did you respond to failure? Did you keep driving in there? Like for me as a basketball trainer, I get pissed off if somebody misses the same way 2 times in a row. That should never happen. Dang. I mean, you don't care. Are you just wasting time? If I miss to the right, I'm gonna miss to the left. I'm gonna miss an air ball. I'm gonna miss it. At some point by about that 7th shot, I can't miss. So to me, that should be the mindset as it relates to failure.
Right. Yeah, and just keep learning and using that as a trampoline into your next success. And man, that's awesome. And I do kind of want to, I know we went on a little tangent there. Yeah. I love it. Right. Like that's what we're here for. But at Hustle Culture, I really want to talk about and really stress and educate people not to be negative and not to be pessimistic. I consider myself an extreme optimist. I feel like you have to be when you're an entrepreneur and when you're doing your own thing. But I like the reason I stress failure and I stress this stuff is because like you said, you can only get to a level if you fail so many times, and it's not highlighted. So the reason I asked you to even come on here is because you told me your story and kind of the steps you had to take to get to that end goal, which hopefully I'll be there and helping you create to get there. For you, tell your story. How have you failed upwards in your life?
Man, I don't even know where to begin with that. I'm working through some family issues right now, with my dad. And like he's had a negative impact on me. And I was kind of raised where failure was like a negative thing. Like, and it's something I had to work through. I remember, my nose is still crooked, but I remember the first time I broke my nose. I was working out with an NBA player, Desmond Mason. He was in the NBA. I was in high school trying to do the right thing.
Yeah.
And I broke my nose playing good defense. This dude is like 6'5". Back then he was like ripped, like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just chiseled. He ain't that way now. He's a millionaire, so he been eating good. But
Right.
back then he was. So I slid over to cut him off. He ran over me and broke my nose with his chest. And my dad like pretty much cussed me out for getting my nose broken, trying to get better. And how are you going to get a scholarship, and how are you going to do this, and how are you going to do that? And so I mentioned that to I was raised in like a pessimistic environment where like a lot of times now that I'm a, well put together and I have a great emotional IQ grown man, I realized the negativity in which it was almost like I can't do anything right. So I've had to really work and understand that failure is a part of the process. So like it's always been there. Like it was never just it's never been necessarily easy to me. Right. It's never been handed to me. Again, like I said, like even on top of failure, even mistreatment, whatever, it still allowed me to develop into who I am because I just kept showing up. So I mentioned as a player, my college career sucked. Right? I wanted to go to the NBA like everybody else. I put everything I had into it. I kept showing up. I never stopped. And that's why I'm able to be a basketball trainer. And be a basketball coach and work out Trae Young and work out these people. But yeah, man, like I've like for so long I was afraid to fail. And then once I just became committed and just left that in the back, that's when I ascended. I started like I mentioned, I wanted to coach in college. When I got done playing, and I got fired from two jobs, and every time I got fired, I got a promotion when I first started. I got fired from a college job because I wouldn't pray with the head coach.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a Christian school, but I wouldn't pray. Which, like this is a super tangent off to the side, but I think that's why I connect with a lot of people. A lot of people think that, God in basketball, and they think that mislabel me as somebody that's like really religious or just like, like what they would call churchy, and I'm not. I've been spiritually manipulated and all that, just like anybody else, but I got fired from there. And because of that, like I went from there to training NBA players. Like literally from like that was a transition. But if crazy. I wouldn't have failed, like I would have never been able to do that and then start my own business. So to me, it's just always showing up. I think it's always important too, like to make sure that that even when things don't go your way, whether it's a coach not playing you, whether it's a boss that mistreated you, like this boss I had, he was just threatened by me. And he mistreated me. But when I was younger, I used to just blame. And there was a lot of blame. But every time you do fail, even if it's somebody else's, I would just suggest making sure you look yourself in the mirror. What can I do better? And like, I look at it like this, like I would rather make my mistakes on this a-hole over here that mistreated me. So like when I come over here and years later, when I was working with Chauncey Billups, like I already know what to do because I've made this mistake over here. So like my career to get to where I was full of failures, both like things that like I just needed to learn, I've never done before, and things that also like a lot of mistreatment. I think that, as we're talking, the biggest failure that I think this came to mind is the first time I had people work for me. Wow. I was an a-hole. Wow. Because I didn't know how to I never worked with people. I didn't know how to take the pressure that was on me and just handle it. So I projected it on everybody else, and I wasn't a good person. I ruined some friendships. I got people right now that probably never speak to me, and I was just so driven. I thought that was okay. But after that, like I had to learn, look myself in the mirror, and, that was just a part of the process, so like, just fell in a different way. I ain't gonna make that failure again. So, and I'm better for the experience. So
I love what you said about how, learning from your parent, from your dad, when you don't get the opportunity to fail, which is what was happening, right?
Mm-hmm.
He wasn't allowing you to fail. You learn to appreciate failing,
Mm-hmm.
because I mean, if you didn't break your nose, you wouldn't have learned something. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm sure even though with that, you learn that. So, it just reminds me, I don't know if you've kept up or if you're tapped into YouTube culture at all, but I mean, it's been mainstream, like Logan Paul, him fighting Mayweather and all that stuff. I've been super close to it. I've been a YouTube kid my whole life. That was like my generation, I guess. That was my Disney Channel. So
Yeah.
for me, I was following the whole thing since when he fought the other YouTuber and all that. And he lost that one, right? He lost a fight with a YouTuber and somehow managed to finesse a fight with the greatest undefeated, you know, boxer of all time, arguably, right? And not just managed to get the fight with him, but managed to last a full 8 rounds with him, do some damage. Like, he kind of rocked Floyd a little bit. And, he's older. He's not the same. I get it. But I was like listening to his press and all that leading up to it. And he said this. He was like, look, I lost the first fight because my trainer was telling me that I can't even imagine failure. Like, I didn't allow the thought of losing the fight to enter my brain. And I thought that was positive. I thought that it was a good thing.
Puts pressure on you.
That's what it does. And in culture nowadays, you see it in so many, like, little clips or social media stuff or whatever, Facebook. You see that, like, nah, bro, like, don't think about losing, because don't even manifest that, or don't even declare. And I'm like, nah, bro, if you can if you can acknowledge that failure is an option, not only is it an option, but it's probably going to be something that's going to make you even better. Like, I feel like that's just, it allows you to fail less, because you're acknowledging that it may happen.
Well, and then you acknowledge it's a part. Like, the reality is like, you can't get to where you want. What stands between you and where you want to be is a lot of failure. Like, frequent. Not. And here's the thing: if you're really trying to get after it, like the audience that you have, it's frequent failure.
Right.
Like, it's not just fail one time. It's like frequent failure. It's failure after failure. Get up and try again. Not losing enthusiasm and fail again. And my dad worked he was a college coach for 28 years. 24 of them was an assistant coach. Worked 24 years to get a head coaching job. When he got it, I think there's a handful of reasons why he didn't keep his job, but one of the biggest one was he wouldn't acknowledge failure. He was like, I'm not going to get fired. I'm not going to. And every time he said it, you could just feel more pressure and more pressure, more pressure and more pressure. Like, instead of like, and for me, like, I think one of the best things that helped me and as I shaped into the adult that I am is seeing him fail, seeing that, like, this happens. Like, you could get fired. He went to work every day, worked hard, and still got fired. And like, deep down, like, I remember just thinking, even though I was a kid, like, man, you might get fired. Like, what's the end of the world? It's not the end of the world if you get fired.
Right.
Like, don't give them that power, And then, like, he was so uptight as a coach because he was afraid of, instead of, like you said, speaking on it, man, I might get fired. But if I get fired, I'm going to get fired going out this way. Like, I'm going to go out my way and take what happens. Let the chips fall where they may. And like, even when I started my business, when I started training, I remember telling myself, like, this is the way that I'm going to do it. And I'm going to be convicted to this. And if it doesn't work, then that just means that this ain't what I'm supposed to be doing.
Right. And dude, when you have that mindset of like not getting fired or not messing up or not, you don't, like you said, you don't challenge yourself and you don't take risks that can lead. Because I mean, I'm not saying out here like do stuff just to fail. That's not the point. The point is to attempt to do great things. And in the process, acknowledge that you might fail. But if you don't even take that step and if you don't even accept that challenge or you commit to that thing, like one of the things, okay, I talked about it with Rob. One of the things that I've always struggled with was weight loss. Like, I'll gain and I'll lose and I'll gain and I'll lose. And that's just how I've been. And I know a lot of people struggle with this. And, the thing that he said was like, so many, he talked about himself, and I encourage anybody listening to this, if you like what this conversation, go back and listen to his, because that was kind of in the same token. He was like, because he was also an NBA player, or not NBA, the basketball player. but he had diabetes and stuff, and you know, he had to deal with that. But he wanted to get his vertical up, and he was training with another guy, and his vertical was crazy. And he was like, bro, what program do you use? Like, he was like, I'm a program guy. Like, I need to know like what the best system is so I can most effectively or efficiently learn and all this stuff. And he's like, the guy told him, he was like, bro, what program? Like, don't worry about it. Just grab one program and stick to that and commit to that, and like actually do a whole thing, like make a full leap and actually go through the whole thing. And that's like everyday decisions, like everyday things that you're doing, like commit to a decision and a choice, and tell yourself like, I'm gonna challenge myself to do this. And look, if I don't do it, cool, I'll learn from how did I fail. Like you said, you got to look yourself in the mirror after, and you got to really like analyze what you did wrong. But man, like, if you're not even putting yourself in a position to fail, all that means is that you're not trying. Like, you're not really trying hard enough.
Have you ever read The Talent Code?
Mm-mm.
So the talent code, like this dude went all over the world to see if you're born with talent or is it developed. And so he went to talent hotbeds. Like, he went to Nashville for music. He went to South America for soccer. He went, you know, somewhere else, you know, where they're churning out, like, say, for example, like basketball in Dallas right now.
Right.
And what he found out that talent is developed, and it's developed through this principle called deep practice. And failure is half of the principle in deep practice. It's like it's going so hard and throwing caution to the wind that the rate and the volume of mistakes is going to be significantly higher than everybody else.
Wow.
But caring so much, being so intelligent and so focused that you learn from that mistake. So basically, the more mistakes that you make, the more you improve. And what he found out is the people that had this deep practice, they outperformed people that had more natural talent than them. Kobe Bryant, the airball game, I did a devotional, Mamba Mentality devotional, like a 5-day devotional dedicated to his legacy. But one of them is the airball game. His first NBA playoff experience, he airballed 5 times in a row and was called a bust.
I didn't even know that.
Kobe Bryant, the Mamba Mentality. Yeah. But again, it's kind of like under that same vein with the deep practice. What did he do with that? One, he had the courage to put himself out there to fail. Like, you got to care enough about your dream and whatever it is you're pursuing that you're willing to fail on Instagram. You're willing to fail out here. You're willing to fail in the bright lights.
Yeah.
Most people will never reach their potential because they stop short of, well, if I take this shot, I might fail. If I start this business, I might fail. And you know what? Like, you might fail on the first one. You know what I mean? Like, man, so like my book is amazing. It is. I think I can sell 1 million copies.
That's
right. You know what I'm saying? I get you. We gonna make the content. We gonna make it do what it do. But man, I started writing devotionals for athletes and coaches. I started doing it because basketball, it moves so fast that people don't have anything to like center them and keep them grounded. They convince themselves they're moving too fast. So when I started training and I had a non-traditional approach to basketball and coaching, I was like, okay, I'm looking at this. This is God's time. I'm going to write these devotionals. Yeah. Started writing them. I didn't know what I was supposed to do. Started sending them to people. Like, this was 2009. Bro. Like, I go back and read those devotionals now and just cringe. Like, man, them devotionals is awful. You know what I mean? In terms of me as a writer. But like, I wrote my book in 2020, but it was 11 years. Like, I had to start. Those were my airballs, so to speak.
Right, dang. Yeah.
That's so real. Yeah, man.
That's crazy, man. And we'll talk a little bit about that, man, because, you know, you said it. You called me out on it. Like, man, I'm an author too. What's that experience been like, you know, learning to like really like, because everyone can write, but it's different when you're writing a book. So talk about that experience a little bit.
Man, it's a cool story. It's really organic. You know, like I mentioned, my relationship with God is so genuine, so authentic. If you come to me and think that, you know, like I'm going to like know, like just be this biblical scholar, or just, you know, like really a churchy guy. I go to church, or like and you know me, I like to just fellowship with good people. And like you and me at the coffee shop the other day, but you know, that's what feeds my soul. But it's the relationship with God. And so like this process just strengthened that. Like this process allows me to say, you can't tell me God ain't real. Because you know, as you read and you develop your faith, you realize that faith is not rational at all. So when people call me and they're like, man, I think your book is dope. Can you give me a step-by-step guide to write a book? I ain't have that. Here's what happened. You know, I was a mentor and I was successful, you know, like for me, you know, a lot of my mentorship is faith guided. It's guided by faith, but it's not necessarily me. Very rarely am I'm not you see me work out. I'm not in the gym, like pulling out the Bible saying John 3:16 this.
Yeah.
Nah.
John 3:16.
Yeah, it's just organic. It's just me. You know what I'm saying? And so like I've never like really done that, but I saw how like, and what makes me feel good is I was able to impact, you know, Muslims, Christians, non-believers, everybody. And I saw how effective I was in Denver doing that, literally using basketball as a vehicle to change their life.
Yeah. And
so then I went to Iowa State as a graduate assistant. Now, most graduate assistants are 24. I was 36 at the time.
Wow.
Right? And so like graduate assistants, they don't have any say. Like by this time, I've trained Trae Young, I've trained Jimmer Fredette, Chauncey Billups. I've literally mentored men that are older than them, but they ain't want to hear that. And so like I didn't have the voice. And I saw these young men that I know that I've helped previously, but my voice was muted. I was frustrated. So in a lot like James Nason is frustrated. How am I going to connect with them? And so like my therapy, I was just like in my prayer time, I would just start writing in my journal. And then I had these, you know, 4 girls on a girls team that were like my sisters, like my little sisters in basketball. And, you know, little sisters are always in your business. So like they come in my office, what are you writing? And they read it. They be like, oh, man, that really helped me. Can you do another one?
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, I was kind of thinking about writing a book and just thought like that was going to be it. Made the mistake of telling them. And every day they was on me. Are you writing? You writing? And that's how it started. So I just started writing and I didn't know what was going to come of it. And I started writing. And then after I had wrote a handful of them, I'm thinking, man, maybe I can write a book. So I'm thinking I'm a self-publish. Don't think it's like, I think, you know, I'm putting everything I have into it and I'm afraid. I don't know if, you know, all these are going to run together. Like, my biggest fear was 2 things. At the end of this, I was going to look up and there was tons of books in that realm, in that genre. The other thing is like, I was going to look up and write and everything was going to be repetitive. But God just told me, just keep writing. I never had writer's block. I mean, I was just a writing machine, just writing. It's almost as if I felt like I was like God's secretary. Like he was just literally writing through me. And so I was like, man, I want to write 40 devotionals. It's 40 minutes in the game. You know, I think I'll have to write, you know, 55, let's say, to get to 40. I stopped at 52 thinking like, let me see where I'm at. Like, which ones can I cut off the list? It was only one out of those 52 that I was like, okay, this one's just not long enough. So this book right now is 51 devotionals and they all flowed. It was a total God thing. So now I have it written. Don't know anything about book publishing.
Yeah. I
think I'm going to have to self-publish. I have no idea where to turn. Somebody just happened to give me a book and I'm looking at it and I'm like, man, this is a nice book. It's well put together. And like my book company, I go and I just look it up on Google. Like look it up, go through their stuff. You know, they had like a frequently asked questions or you contact us. Like it's like the Holy Spirit speaking to me, you know, just send them your manuscript. So I sent them my manuscript and just like, man, and I remember sending it. I was like, man, this has got to be a God thing if this works. Because at this time, my manuscript was, you know, all over the place. I had notes in the margins, run-on sentences, all that. And I was like, I hope it's just good enough for somebody to call me back.
Right.
So they call me back and, you know, she's telling me all this good stuff. And I'm like, man, it must be like she's just softening the blow. And she keeps going and keeps going. And then they offered me a book deal.
Wow.
And said, this book is amazing. It checks all the boxes. Everybody in our whole company like enjoyed this book and wants it to come out. So, you know, it was like a total God thing, super organic, which I love. But it was, like I said, you can't tell me that God isn't real because like it didn't make any sense.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't follow some blueprint. It was just like God, and it was scary. You know, to put that much time in, you can imagine how many times doubt crept in, like, man, what am I doing? I wrote this book while I was in graduate school, coaching major college basketball, mentoring kids, and doing that. So there were tons of times where I just assumed like I was just wasting time, or, you know, like, man, is this really worth it? So yeah, man, it was a dope experience for sure.
That's crazy. Were you like, did you go to school for writing at all? Or like, what's the background there?
My 8th grade teacher, Miss Rogers, in front of the class, my 8th grade teacher, like, you know, stand up, what you gonna be doing? English teacher. I was like, man, I said, I'm gonna be a college basketball player, playing on national TV, playing college basketball for my dad.
Yeah.
She looked at me in front of the class and was like, college material? You're not college material.
What?
English teacher. Hey, Miss Rogers, what's good, baby?
Dang. What does that even mean? You're
Right.
not college material?
Hey, I remember the first time we played on national TV my freshman year. We was playing Utah. And I remember hitting a 3. And I was like, man, I hope Miss Rogers is watching. So, like, to answer your question, like, yeah, I definitely wasn't the guy that somebody said, man, he's gonna write a book.
Yeah.
You know, it was just like passion. It was just passion and just, you know, just writing from the heart. So, but the good thing is like, man, like, if you have a story to tell, like, the editor's gonna make you look good. You know what I mean? And that's what they said, you know, like, they were like, your copy is great. Like, you know, but, you know, we'll come in and clean it up and make you look good and do all that. So, like, you know, just having the talent to do that.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, that's the hardest part is the story. Everybody can like clean up a sentence or like add a comma, you know what I mean? Not to discredit.
I might not be able to. I got Grammarly on my phone, bro. So
I feel you though. But I'm saying, like, as long as you have that story and you have like the soul and the content, doubt. Like, that's inspiring in and of itself. Like, I mean, people look at writing a book and rightfully so as like, dude, like, that's something that's going to stay on this planet for as long as books. Right. And that's been a thing forever. Like, I don't see it going away anytime soon. So, man, I commend you for that. That's so cool. And, man, if anybody's thinking of doing anything, take that as an example of, like, you can do it. Like, you weren't planning on writing a book in 8th grade. And you know what I mean?
It just happened. I will say this, though, that just to cap off the book, writing it's made me such a more prepared. It makes me a better man, a better person. I thought I was gonna write the book in like 3 weeks, 2 years later. But think about the habits organically that you develop. Consistency, you know, like overcoming that inner doubt. Yeah. And winning that battle. You know, time management. You know, because there were times where like I just have to go, like I had 30 minutes, I just got to go right over here and all that. There was so much fruit that was developed from that process, just staying to it, you know, seeing it through. Yeah. You know, fighting, you know, like when I work with athletes and I catch myself now that I've written a book, I can use that as an example for them. You know, because there's so many parallels. Like, what about, you know, all of us, hustle culture? You talk about one of the biggest things is, man, how can you fight through the bad days? Can you really grind and get after it on those bad days? Can you grind and get after it when you doubt? You know what I'm saying? When you don't feel good, you know, and in order for this to come to fruition, you know, I had to dominate my bad days. Right. Yeah. So.
That's so crazy, man. And, you know, a book is just one way of like creatively expressing something or telling stories. Like nowadays, a lot of people are doing it, of course, social media. Like that's another way to outwardly express or tell a story or share and stuff. And like you said, like, I think people underestimate what the work that goes behind just sharing and just storytelling, because storytelling is a difficult thing, man. I mean, the way you look at the book and the way you talk about it is kind of the way I look and I talk about the podcast. Like, you know, like the first episode would not the same as this episode. You know what I mean? Like, not just aesthetically, but even the way I've had to learn how to say things certain ways. I've had to learn how to, process things in audio, like little things like you said. And with anything that you're trying to learn and trying to get good at, it takes some sort of learning curve, and every learning curve comes with frustrations. Learning is the hardest thing to do, bro.
Would you say this? I think this is important. Like, I think the other thing is like, man, you just got to get started. Like, I've sent some to my players, like, are you committed to sucking at something? You got to suck at something for a long time before you're great at it. And so like, I think that a lot of people paralyze themselves before they even get started because, you know, they're going to suck at it. You know, and I tell them like okay, like I talked to somebody about starting a fitness blog. I was like, well, if you start a fitness blog, you're going to have 2 followers, your mama and your girlfriend from work. So it don't matter no way.
Yeah.
You know, but it's gonna like, yeah, that's a part of it. You're gonna look back.
Yeah.
And be like, oh my God, I did that. But you wouldn't be here.
Right.
You know, like I laugh at like those now, but I wouldn't have been here.
Right.
You know, so you got to throw yourself out there and just be like, man, I'm going to put myself out there and I'm going to put my heart and soul into it. And my friends going to tell me how great it is, but this website might be trash or this might be trash or whatever, but I'm going to stay committed to the process.
Yeah. And understanding and again, acknowledging failure, especially when you're trying to get good at something, like understanding that you're going to suck for a long time or, you know, for as long as it takes you to learn something and get good at it. Like understanding that it's not going to be perfect. That's something Gary Vee talks about all the time. Like stop overthinking, stop being a perfectionist and just do and just go, just keep putting it out. You know, I had the whole conversation with Adrian Stresso. He's a rapper, our local artist here. It was the last episode. He was like, the thing I asked him, I was like, what do you say to like the artist that, you know, hasn't put out a song yet because like he doesn't think it's good yet? And that was his whole thing. It's like, and this is the battle, and I want to ask you this because, you know, we're in a constant state of creating and like sharing things. His thing was, you eventually will get better at stuff. Eventually it's going to happen. The process in between and you deciding what's public and private, like you can put reps in private. Like you said, nobody saw those devotionals that you started when you first did it, right? That you cringe at, you know what I mean? Like you can do things in the private side to better and before, you know what I mean? Like it's not as black and white as just like, I have to embarrass myself and I gotta do this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like, and just be smart about it. I mean, again, the way I personally think, and I'll ask you this, that humbling of being embarrassed.
Yeah, no doubt.
It's going to take you to the next level.
Yep. Yeah. You know, like, so for me, man, like, this whole process has humbled me. And like the reason I told you, like, I was like, man, I'm gonna write this book. It's gonna be out in 2 months. One, it would have like what makes me feel good when it's funny because I remember when I got to the point where I kind of like made a deal with myself. I wasn't gonna tell people about writing a book until like I kind of had like a mental deadline until I write X amount, right? And then when it started becoming real and I started telling people I'm writing a book, it would like look at me like, get out. Oh, okay, yeah, cool. You could just feel them like can't wait to get to their phone. Yo, this dude Nick, he done lost his mind. And again, going back to like remembering that, like okay, like I'm remember that. Like I know you call it like laughing, whatever. And them same people, they pick the book up and they would look and they'd be like, and like I'll be trying to have a conversation with them and they can't even focus. And I had a lot of man, this took a lot, like how long did this take you? And it's like basically reading between the lines, man, I thought you was throwing something together. Like you wrote a book, you know? So like, it's just like, yeah, for sure. Like you got to take that time it's not going to happen overnight. You know, no, go ahead.
I mean, I just think it's funny, the timing of all this. Cause I literally, I was in a place where I didn't know this was going on for a long time, where people were talking just crap behind my back, just trashing everything I was doing, like just saying all these things behind my back, and then in person, like praising me for it and things. And it happened all the time. And then like, I remember one time in this specific group, I heard this person like say some sort of sly joke about the podcast, right? And it was like, oh yeah, that little thing, or that 6 episodes in, I get a text from
yo, that's dope,
dude, or like, oh my God, you got this guy on. I mean, Adrian, the homie, like he's a dope guy. I legit this morning got like a text, bro, I just, I want to encourage you. Like, you're going to do great. And I'm like, bro, I've been saying this and I've been thinking this way. Yeah. That motivates the mess out of me. And I don't know if that's healthy or not.
No, that internal drive. And, that's why I have to have a relationship with God, because it allows me to have that balance to where it drives me, but it doesn't make me petty. Like, I'm never going to be like come back and look at you.
Right.
It's only through God, because like without him, I would definitely do that. And I think where I was going with the book, like I wanted it to like be out quick, but like the quality is worth it. So as you're pursuing it, like, man, don't get ahead of yourself. Like, like whatever you're doing, like develop your talent in a crock pot, man. Don't my cousins, I got some country cousins that barbecue every weekend, man. They don't do gas. We ain't grilling our ribs on propane, man. We gonna break them things nice and slow, let that flavor seep in. But the other thing is, with me as a man, it developed a humble spirit. And I feel like, man, like honestly, I promise you, and I just feel like I just want to be as vulnerable as possible. Like, man, when I first started writing a book, like I probably would have had a big picture of myself on there. You know what I'm saying? Because it's my book. Yeah. And like just through the process, I didn't even want a picture. It was so much bigger than that. But just being humbled in every way possible. You know what I mean? Like, because that was important. Like when you talk about having a platform and not a pedestal, there's a humility that has to come with it. And it was the process. There's one of the devotionals in the book, it says, if you allow God to be the travel agent for your life, he's never going to book you a direct flight. Right? You know what I'm saying? Like he like flying Southwest back in the day. Like you know what I'm saying? I'm flying from Denver to New Mexico, but I'm going to Austin. Like what?
My God.
That's what God does. But every layover is very purposeful, because we gonna go drop off your pride here. We're gonna pick up your character here. So now when you arrive to your destination, some people are going to get there faster, but they're not going to pick those things up along the way. And so for me, that book, man, like, and this is very humble and very respectful, but the man that God has developed me into, I never thought I could become. And what's crazy is he ain't done yet, but it was just through that process. You know what I'm saying? Because it's, your talent, and I tell your audience, I tell you as a friend, and me, I tell all my people this, the commitment, and it's the culture contract in the back of my book. And I think it applies. It's not just basketball, but our basically we won't let our talent take us somewhere our character can't keep us. And so my character always has to be a step ahead of my talent. When that gets out of whack, then like you're gonna fumble the bag. Me being around basketball, I've lived with an NBA player. I've mentored NBA players. I've been close to an NBA player. I've seen 3 people close to me fumble the bag, trick off millions of dollars. I've seen a close friend trick off $100 million contract. You know what I'm saying? But why was that? Because it was all talent. Characters here. Now you got DUIs. Now you got domestic abuse. Now you got the wrong people around you that won't hold you accountable. And now that person's sitting there living like for the rest of his life, knowing that he came up short. And so like when you go through this process, I think organically when you're going after challenging thing, it forces you, like you said, to get humble. Because your podcast ain't gonna go from where it is right now to on the top of the Spotify or Apple Music charts. Me writing those devotionals, that was a 9-year process just to get to here.
Yeah.
And I still have to ways to go.
I love that. And I'm letting that sink in because, like, I don't know. That's the thing. That's the thing about when you build something. I've talked to a lot of people, and I've got the pleasure of talking to different people on this podcast in a deep setting. But I've also talked to other people, and just one of the things I really enjoy from social interactions, and I encourage everyone else to do it, is that I really think that you can learn a lot. The best way of learning is through like making mistakes on your own. But the second best way is by learning from the mistakes of other people.
Yes, indeed.
And I think that, I was talking to this guy, and his whole thing, man, his whole shtick was like, man, just me. I'm building this brand for me. And I don't want to get too, because I don't want to out the person. But I told him, I was like, just principles of building a business and building a brand, right? Like hustle culture, if you go to the hustle culture page, like on my Insta, on my personal, you'll see me, but on the hustle culture Instagram, like it won't be a clip of me talking. And that's not because I don't value what I have to say or because I don't think I have a voice, but that's not the point. Like hustle culture ain't like a thing to a pedestal. Like you said, I love that you said that. It ain't a pedestal for me. It's a platform for others. And I'm just here. And I think that's the role. And I had a talk with my friend the other day. It's like, as I'm developing who I am, I mean, I'm 23, bro. Like, I'm not anywhere to be like, I know where I'm at yet. As I'm growing, I'm starting to learn that what I really enjoy personally is facilitating other people's success and
No
just like
doubt.
helping other people grow.
Mm-hmm.
And that's just a naturally humble place to be. And
For
I don't
sure.
know. I just, for the person listening to this, is thinking like, maybe you're adding pressure on yourself that you shouldn't even be adding, bro. Like, just remember, like, it ain't, you ain't that important, man. Like, in the scheme of things, and the Christians do this a lot. You know what I mean? Like, God's doing stuff with or without you. You know what I mean? In other people's lives.
Give yourself too much credit.
Facts.
You not God. You just being used by God. And like the other thing is this stuck with me. And I don't remember if I told you or not, like off wax, but you know, like people, like social media got like people head messed up. Everybody like a brand, everybody want to build my brand, like my brand. And so like it goes back to this. I read this and it really like made me look myself in the mirror, and it definitely made me figure out which side I am.
Yeah.
You know, like very few people are aspirational. You know, like if you have an influence on social media or otherwise, are you an aspirational person or an inspirational? What happens is a lot of people and that they think they're aspirational and you're not. You know, like
define that. What's aspirational?
So I aspire. Like people aspire to be like Kyrie Irving.
I see.
People aspire to, you know, be like Lil Baby. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And like what a lot of people do is they aspire to be inspired by somebody.
Oh, dude.
And like, dog, I am very inspirational.
Yeah.
Like I am an inspiration to a lot of people. So like, it wouldn't make sense for me to come across like on my feed showing me, like I got a homeboy, like we used to stay like by a private airport and he had a plug so they would let him take pictures on the grounded G4s.
Dang.
Like that wouldn't make sense for me to be on my page. That's like when you aspire, like, man, you know what I mean? Like this dude's, you know, whoever it is, this A-list celebrity, Michael B. Jordan, man, like he living like that. Like, dog, come on, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? You work at State Farm, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Like, but you can inspire somebody, you know, and I think that's where a lot of people miss the boat and that's where that me. Because when you're when you're trying to inspire somebody, like you don't come across, your job is not a me.
Right.
And so like you with your page, it's not about you. It's about something so much bigger. Like somebody, like why would somebody, like no disrespect to you, but like why would the average person just come in there and, you know, be like, so you see all these pictures of you everywhere and just be like, oh man, I'm gonna do that. Like, who are you? Or who are me? Not in God's eyes, but you know what I'm saying?
No, facts.
Like for somebody to just be like, I'm gonna follow him like he's some big time A-list celebrity. A lot of people do that though.
It's dumb and it's funny because I was in the creation of the podcast. I was thinking of like, I know I like creating content and I like doing stuff and I always want to do something for myself. Not necessarily to big myself up, but like for myself that I don't have to rely on a client. I don't have to rely on external sources of income. That's what hustle, like that's a reason. Like I wanted to make something that's like, it's like my thing, you know? And I always ran into this. I was like, man, no one listens to a podcast of a guy unless they're like, they've already done something. Like nobody is aspirational, like you said, until they've done something that other people want to aspire to be. And I think that's the thing. I think Charlemagne the God said it or something. I don't know. They were like, social media just makes people think they're bigger than they really are. Like, you got 1,000 followers. Like, that don't mean nothing. Like, like you still haven't done anything in the grand scheme of things. Like, I love talking about like the real like top, the top tier, like Jay-Z, like, you know what I mean, like Rick Ross, people who are like actually like their metric. I think I was talking to Adrian about it. Their metric isn't even like how much money am I making or how many businesses do I own. It's, I think Jay said it in one of his songs. He was like, I made millionaires.
Right.
Like I made other people millionaires. If
everybody in his circle ain't got money, like then another one he's like on that Meek Mill, I think was, if everybody in his circle ain't got money, then we all broke.
Yeah, those in championships, right? Yeah, bro. That's what it is, bro. And I think everybody who gets money, when you get to that end part, right? It's the whole money doesn't buy happiness thing. You get to that end part, right? And I don't know because I haven't experienced that, but from seeing other people, it's like they always get to the point where it always ends up them helping other people. Like a Bill Gates, how much money does he donate to like charities and stuff? It's like, you got nothing else to do in life. Like, you can be a bajillionaire, have every cent in the planet. Then what? Like, that don't really mean nothing if you're not actually impacting culture, people, families. Like, that's just how I feel.
Well, I think that, like, those people that are grounded or they get grounded along the way, I could sum up what everybody wants out of life in one word: fulfillment.
That's right.
We're all after fulfillment. I don't care what it is. The dude that's like going out sleeping with a chick every night, he's chasing fulfillment.
Right.
The dude that's just buying cars, fulfillment. You know what I mean? And so, like, but, obviously faith-based people like me, I know my fulfillment comes from living in my purpose.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And money can't buy that. It's about fulfillment, just being fulfilled. What fulfills you? And it's crazy. Me, like, I'm not a surface kind of dude. Like, I like getting to it on conversations. Go ask somebody, just, hey, what fulfills you? A lot of people struggle to answer that question, but that's really the question. That's the key to life. And that's what you're in search of, but people don't even know that. Like, and that's how people become drug addicts or sex addicts or this or whatever, because they're really chasing fulfillment.
Bro. Dude, I want to, because we're already in the vein of social media and chasing fulfillment in that way. There's a question I premeditated. I don't usually do this, but I know you're a talker, so I had some things prepared because I'm excited to hear what you have to say.
Let's get to it.
One of them was, how do you feel about social media and its role in society today?
I think it's a microcosm of society. It's what you make of it. I think our society's deteriorated, and so, like, there's a lot of negative that comes with social media. I think it's dangerous, not because social media is dangerous, but because of how we intake it, how we consume it, and how we use it. It's part of a bigger problem. There are a lot of insecure people in the world. There are a lot of fake people in the world. There are a lot of people that aren't fulfilled in the world, like we just talked about. Social media brings that out.
Yeah.
But social media is saving people's life. I talked about, like, man, I'm going through some family stuff right now. I believe my dad's a narcissist, and just going through that, it's important for me to be vulnerable, because I want people to see my struggles in live time. So when I come out on the other side, that gives them hope. But every time I open up about my vulnerabilities on social media, I immediately get somebody in my DMs, and I'm able to help them and impact them. Even as I'm establishing this, it's been social media, Instagram. I found, like, free online therapy, and I've been DMing a therapist that deals with narcissistic healing, for like being raised in a narcissistic household.
Wow.
For free. So, like, there's a lot of good that comes out of social media that people, just like everything else, but people don't talk about. But the things that are negative, they are true. Like, it does. There's a lot of depressed people. Like, when I was at Iowa State, there were like 7 guys on our team that were depressed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you know what? 7 of those 7, probably all 7 of them didn't even know they were depressed. So imagine not being aware that you're depressed or you're unhappy, and then you're going on Instagram and looking at people, again, what we talk about, people promoting their finished product. That's not even them. It's like me, like, a lot of people project. You know what I mean? Yeah. Like, my dad projected a lot when I was little. He projected of a version of himself that he wasn't really living. And it made me feel like less of a man growing up, because I could never be what he projected, but he wasn't. You know what I mean? And that's what a lot of people do on social media. I can, like, man, I'm broken, but I can go on social media and flick up. I told you about my boy, this dude, you know what I'm saying, driving a Honda Accord, but he taking pictures in a G4. Ain't going nowhere, Like, so, like, yeah, there's a lot of people. When I was having a conversation, I try to counsel people, like the young people that I work with. I ain't one of them, get off my line dudes, man, social media the devil. No, like, this is how you can intake it. These are some things that you should be aware of. Pay attention if you're doing this. Pay attention if it's affecting you like this, to help them navigate it through a way that's going to be mentally constructive and not mentally damaging.
Yeah, there's I had a conversation with Leo, episode 8, and we dove into that, and he said the same thing, because I'm in the space of social media. Like, my business revolves around that, and it's like, you're finding hacks and how to like manipulate growth and all that. So for me, I had, going into that conversation, was like, no, Instagram is created in a way that kind of makes it dangerous. And he said the same thing. It's like, no. It's not like, it's like the whole like, and I don't know what your take on this is, but it's like the whole like gun ownership thing. It's like, guns don't kill people, people will kill people.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? It's like, it's the same kind of thing. Like, social media can be a weapon, and it can be something bad.
But it's saving
like
people's lives.
But it's also saving people's lives at the same time. And something I want to talk to you about is, it really matters not just what you're intaking and because I believe that what you're allowing in your head dictates your behavior. Like,
I got a funny story about that, but go ahead.
What you're like, whatever. But also what you're sharing and what you're putting out dictates the whole platform. And I mean, I wanted to get into this convo with you because you're a Dallas guy. You have a voice. One of the biggest things from hustle culture is I want to make Dallas, I want to raise the voices of those in Dallas that don't currently have it, because it's being taken by people who shouldn't have it. People, I mean, we've talked about people that, and I don't want to out anybody, but like, social media is supposed to be an empowering thing to connect with people and actually share stuff, not to, like you said, flick up in a G4.
Yeah.
So what do you think?
That ain't really the life you living.
And even if it is, like, what are you doing? Like, what are you, how are you helping? Like, who are you impacting by doing like some random, I don't know. And I've talked about this before in the last solo episode, but like, for you, man, you're one of those voices I consider to be very special in the city, and one of those voices that I think like more people need to hear. And I want to hear your take on it, because we've talked about this offline, and like, it feel like if somebody looks at Dallas, like right now, like I got a couple of new followers from the Adrian episode. This guy is like watching from Johannesburg, like
I saw
South
that.
Africa.
That's dope, man.
And I was like, cool. Don't get me mixed in with these other Dallas people, bro. Because I know so many Dallas influencers that are just out here not really doing anything. So like, for you, man, what do you think about like how you be using your platform? Like,
yeah. So for me, like, and I think it's about like and I've prayed and fasted about social media. I told you that there's a reason that I wanted to connect with you, because I feel like, like I want to maintain my genuineness, authenticity, but I also want it to be in a way that the social media consumer can digest and connect with and tap in with. But here's what, I prayed, or what God put on my heart. You can't change what you conform to. You can't change what you conform to. And, when we look at social media, when we talk about it from a negative light, it's a lot of people losing themselves, losing their identity, because all they're doing is conforming, as opposed to staying true to their one of oneness. Like, my social media, like a lot of people will just detox. And it's like, no, it's who you follow. And like, so, one, I want to marry my best friend. I want to marry my best friend. And I want, when I look at her, to think that she is the most amazing, sexiest woman on the planet. I ain't met her yet. At least I don't think I have. Maybe I have. But in preparation for that, I don't follow, just like, women that are just, that's all they putting out there. Because I don't want to put that in my head, like, and just look at this person that's airbrushed and have this flawless body. So when I meet this amazing woman, I'm looking at her like, oh, like, so like this, that, but then the other, oh, my bad. We good? The other part of it is I follow, like, I made a commitment to myself. Like, I follow authentic people. Like, I don't have nothing fake on my feed. I follow authentic people.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Authentic people that, like, you social media, you know, you have to be honest with yourself and be like, I'm easily influenced. I am crazy about a God I've never met. So you can't tell me I'm not.
Yeah.
So because I'm honest with myself, I'm very particular about what I intake because I know that will influence me. So the same way with our friend groups, like, does this person add value? Does this person do that? Like, I follow Desi Banks, I follow Haha Davis or Country Wayne because they add value, because life is tough and I'm gonna watch them and they gonna make, sometimes like TD Jake said this, he says he watches a comedy before he goes to bed every night because it's his way of laughing at the devil, letting them know no matter how bad it got, you ain't get me.
Wow.
I do that sometimes on Instagram. So I follow these comedians because there's a purpose and there's a reason. So I think that, like, I try to be somebody that I'm not gonna conform. I'm gonna be my true and authentic self. I'm going to be vulnerable. I put a picture of me. I slept in a car to write my book. Traveled the country to write my book, to raise money, to do what I needed to do. I slept in a car, and so I could save money and not pay in a hotel, not for, you know, a day here, 2 days here, whatever, probably 10 days in total. Put a picture on Instagram. And that was me saying, like, again, I'm going to promote this process and stay true. And I'm not, because Instagram says you shouldn't do that. But I didn't come here. It's like the Bible verse, you know, that says, you know, we're supposed to be in the world and not of it.
Yep.
And I feel like you got to carry that energy into social media. Be yourself. Don't get lost.
Bro, that's perfect. And I like the way you said it, and it's impacting the way I'm gonna say it now. Because it's like, you can, like, there are things that are authentically you. And like, and look, don't misunderstand me when I say, like, these people are, like, doing this or that. I don't mean like I said, like, I followed like 20 comedians. Like, I don't think that everything has to be like super deep or super like crazy.
That's what I'm saying.
No,
get my laughter.
No, that's what I'm saying. Like, there's different things that matter, but it's like, my thing is that it's like, when you're not being truly authentic, or when you're just not necessarily adding any value, like, laughter is value,
no doubt.
Like, all these other are valuable things that matter. And it's like, I don't know, like, what do you think? And I want to get your take on this, because you've been in Dallas for a while now, and I haven't talked to a guest about it. I've only ever just talked about it myself. But, like, what do you think about the landscape of Dallas right now on social media?
Yeah, like I moved from Denver. Denver was my adult home. I like Denver. Denver's dope. It's not enough black people, not enough black culture, not enough black concerts and black, you know, just, you know, I'm obviously proud of my heritage and whatnot. Well, I love kicking it with all people, but especially my people. But the one thing I like about Denver, bro, like, you could go to Del Frisco's and we could be dressed like this and ain't nobody gonna be looking at us, or you could wear your Yeezys and whatnot and all that. You know, like, I sometimes get a kick out of being different. You know, when I wrote my book, so I, in order to go coach at Iowa State, it was a graduate assistance job, which means you ain't getting paid no money. So I thought that I was going to move up the college coaching ladder, but really God brought me there for my book. So, like, they don't pay for your move. You know what I'm saying? I'm living in student housing. Like, so, like, I pretty much sold everything, which I don't know why I did that, but I sold everything. Like, I'm going to make this happen. So I get there and all I had was, like, all these Iowa State sweats. Like, that was it. So I was planning on staying there, but it was toxic. I had to leave, wrote my book, got out, came down here to Dallas. And all I had was a bunch of, like, Iowa State sweats. But I didn't care, man. I was in grind mode finishing my book, like, not even getting haircuts, just getting after it. But I remember, like, people, like, looking at me and the energy they was giving me, you know, because of, like, what I was wearing and stuff like that. And, you know, looking at me like I ain't got nothing going on, or I ain't popping, and which is fine. You know, I just, you know, sometimes I feel like God allows you to go through these valleys to see people, see the energy that people give you and who really messes with you and who messes with you for superficial reasons. But there's a lot of that in Dallas. I will say that. So I'm with you on that. And, like, I like what you're talking about, like, you really using your platform to promote the stories and the services and the voices of people that need to be heard. And I think that we have to take it upon ourselves to promote, celebrate, and empower authentic, genuine, talented people. Because a lot of times people like that get overshadowed by people that are just conforming.
Because the only reason people act that way is because they think that that's what's cool.
That's the currency. Yeah.
Because they think that that's dope and like that's what's praised. And I'm talking Dallas because like, you know, I've been in cities where it's not like that. Like you said, Denver is cool. Like, even when you go to, even like to Fort Worth, like it's just a different
Fort Worth
energy.
is a whole different vibe.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, and it's not to hate on, I love my city and I love whenever I like, that's the thing when you're in it and when you're actually, you meet the right people and you're in the right circles, Dallas is lit. Like what I love about this city is the fact that it's so rooted in culture and like, there's so many different like races here. Like there's Latinos, there's black people, there's white people, and like it intermingles. And so you get that, and then you get the corporate, because Dallas is a corporate like hub of like if you go downtown, like there's a lot of major corporations that are doing things in Dallas. So like it's a little mix of everything, but it's like what are we praising, bro? Like what are we holding up and highlighting? Because as people, because I do think that like the whole reason for this is really to, I don't know, I feel like there needs to be a primary, again, not my voice, but a primary platform that highlights all these things to kind of help bring that to light. And there's other organizations that are doing it, and they're just not public. I had this conversation with my friend Tyrell. He's a part of this organization called Two or More. It's a like a Christian, like outside of the church organization where they just meet and they just have like small groups and stuff, and it's cool. I just learned about it. And he was telling me, because I had the same conversation offline with him, and I'm going to get him on the podcast. He has his own podcast. He's dope. It's called Perspective. Anyways, he told me, he's like, it's what I was saying in a different language, again, which I enjoy talking to people because it gives me language. Because I keep saying, like, when you're in the city and you're in it, you don't really feel how you feel when you're on social media. And he was saying, all that is like all of these really genuine things just don't have the platform. They just don't choose to go online. It's like these offline in the city things that you see in posters, like on coffee shops and stuff. And I was like, damn, like imagine if we could just give people like just a platform.
Well, I think two things come to mind is like, so for me, like, I'm like a freestyle speaker. Like I just got a gift, like I can talk to people. Yeah. And so like when you're an authentic person, because it's authentic, I don't know when that's going to happen. So like, I'm not going to, oh man, hold on. Man, let me call Andreas and record this. You know, so like a lot of times authentic people are never going to be able to generate that volume of content.
I see.
You know what I mean? Because it is authentic. They're just living their life out loud.
No, I get
you know,
it,
like, and you look at, famous, a lot of famous people, or even a lot of people that have invested, that has good content, is because they can afford to have this video guy or this photographer, more or less just follow them around and live their life out loud. There's a lot of people, like you said, to your point, that don't have that. And that's why I'm excited about the content you're doing for me. So, go ahead.
So here's what I want to say to combat that, because that's a real thing. And you're right. Most authentic people either don't have either the resources or they just don't even think about putting it on camera. So here's what I want to do, because again, it's what are you empowering and what are you engaging in? Someone that I want to have on the podcast, his name's Brent. He owns a restaurant in Bishop Arts, Tribal all day cafe, lit spot, dope. He is one of those authentic people that like will drop a shift like when he's in the middle of lunch hour to go help the old lady who owns a business down the street like carry stuff to her thing. You know what I mean? It's like, it's not even like I want to give people, like, if you're one of those people who feels that way and like you know when you're a real person, you know what I mean? Like but you just don't feel like you have, or you want to be on camera and stuff, like you don't need to be. Like that's the first thing. It's like, first of all, you don't need to have a videographer with you doing all this stuff. Like you can, one of the coolest, there's this guy from Elevation. His name's Eddie Parker. He's like one of the new like personalities that's like on there. I follow him. He follows me. And he was like, he literally just does tweets and he just posted the tweet on his thing. And it's just like one of those posts. And it gets super engagement, and it's like positive energy he's putting out there. He's telling stories through his thing. Like he said this other thing, we interacted, I put it on my story. It was like, he's talking about hustle culture and like how it's great, but like you also need to rest and stuff. I'm like, that's awesome. Like this guy doesn't have he doesn't have like a natural need to be in camera, but like if you want to share a story, I just don't want people to feel like they can't just because they're not superficial. You know, because that's the issue.
Right.
It's like, and you know, it's like I'm empowering you to make content, but I want to empower everyone else who, you know, can't afford to get a videographer or doesn't even want to have a camera running around. Like, you can find ways to do it, because those people are like heavily influential. Like, everybody knows that guy I just mentioned. Like, everybody who lives in Bishop or goes and like brunches places, like everyone knows about that guy. You know what I mean? Or he works with non-profit organizations all the time. Like, he's known in the streets. He's not known online.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's cool. And there's a level of merit. I'm not saying everybody has to do this or whatever. What I am saying is like, man, and again, maybe this is the platform for it. Maybe like this is the only way, but like, I just want those stories to be told, man. Cause I want more people to be like that. I hate that people were looking at your Iowa sweats like what the hell? Like, no, bro. Like,
it's all good. Like you said, that gave me, that's part of the recipe that made me more humble. You know, because like, hey, I just want to say this because I don't want nobody saying I'm a hypocrite. You know, like, I like to dress, I like nice stuff. Yeah. So like, if you see me wearing some Yeezys or this or that, or you know, don't be like,
today. I peeped the shoes,
you know what I'm saying? So,
yeah,
but it's just, it's something I had to go through, man. But
yeah, I feel you. I just want to talk about it because you're one of those genuine voices, and I think it's important. But yeah, man, I wanted you know, I think we're a solid hour and a half in already, so I want to start winding down. But I do think that a big part of your story revolves around obviously your book. We talked about failure a lot. I don't want to talk about that anymore. But just you as a person, I think that trainers and coaches and teachers have I wouldn't even say like a necessity to do this, but every teacher, coach, trainer has a natural need to be a role model. And not in the sense of like, you should be me, I'm perfect. A mentor, I think that's a better word, or a leader. For you, it's after going through all this, you know, releasing your book, seeing how that's impacted people, what impacted and what empowered you to feel like you could be a mentor to other people?
Yeah. You know, like, just God, you know, so I think it started, man, it was like, you know, just a lot of the stuff that I mentioned, like, cause my dad was like, man, he was like a god to me. He's my role model, and just you know, never being good enough for him, him not like really loving me the way that I deserve, and how that made me feel, and then him being my coach on top of that, and you know, robbing me of an opportunity to have the basketball experience that I worked for. I'm a very, you know, it's ironic, you know, being the son of a narcissist, that I am so empathetic, you know, so like, they're not empathetic and I'm just overly empathetic in a healthy way, I believe. And so it's just like a place of like, man, like, I don't know how I'm here. I don't know how I'm the person that I am despite all of that. But man, just this, I feel the pain that I've had to overcome, the darkness, the loneliness that I didn't deserve to go through. And I just want to make sure that nobody ever has to go through that, you know? And so that's just my fight, you know, and I know that there are people that are. And so for so many people, you know, you can't have enough good people in your life. It takes a village. So like, there are a lot of people where I'm just another good person in their life. Like Colin Smith, where I work out, amazing dad, amazing mom, amazing family structure. I'm just another good person. But for some other people I work with, man, I'm like, if I'm not in there, if not me, then who? You know, and like, the cool thing about, I'm a not a fantasy kind of like sunshine rainbows optimistic person. I'm an optimistic person, but it's built on substance.
Right.
And so like, you know, as I talk about my dad, and it's still a fresh wound, I'm dealing with it. I don't say that for people to feel sorry for me. You know, I say that because I feel like it's relevant and I'm going through it. But the good thing is like, my coping mechanism was developing a genuine, authentic relationship with God. And, you know, I mean, people would look at me like I was crazy, because there would be days where like I'd be in God, like, you know, reading, praying, just meditating, journaling for 2 hours, 3 hours, sometimes 4 hours. That's like a normal day for me sometimes. And, you know, I didn't know God was birthing a book that whole time. When we talked about the organicness of it, that's where it started. And then the other part is just like that. What I told you, the mantra for any athlete I work with is to never let your talent never let your talent go further than your character. Like, so because of all the time that I put in that just character development just flows out of me. It's just something that's just so natural. And as I look around, I get so locked into what I'm doing. I'm just doing it. It's healing me from all the trauma that I've been through. You know what I mean? But then the other thing is like, there's not a lot of people in my space that are doing that. You know what I mean? Like basketball, like when I help somebody develop basketball, minus their character, I feel empty. I feel incomplete. I feel like the job's not done. The basketball stuff is easy. That's for me. That might get me clout when I got videos of me training Trae Young on the court. That was 4 years ago. And to this day, like that still gets me clout and cred. But what they didn't see is us getting up at 6:45 every morning, praying, talking about what faith-based leadership is, talking about using your platform. What they didn't see was his dad calling me 2 weeks after saying, man, like, I don't know what you and Trae did, but I've seen a change in him and his approach and his faith and his development. You know what I mean? That's what I feel like my obligation is, you know, and that's what my commitment is. So yeah, just living in that space because there's a need for it. And like the next step for me is to use my platform to where like, you know, I'm very appreciative of people like you, and a lot of people do recognize the good that I do. But I want so many people to be doing it in the way that I do it that it's not out the ordinary, that I don't stand out. I don't want to stand out.
Yeah.
Like I want to be just another good dude changing lives because these kids need it. And unfortunately, there's not a lot. And that says more about other people than it says about me. So
is there a pressure that comes with that?
It's a good question.
Being the person that like, because you said there's two types of people you usually work with. It's the person who already has those other good people, and then the people who don't. Is there a pressure being that one person for that?
So yes and no. There's no pressure because it's so natural. You've seen us. Like I just do what I love, and it just happens naturally. I don't try. But the pressure comes, like the reason like that I feel like I have to be prepared to work for myself and do my own thing is not out of ego. Sometimes, like I tell people this all the time, man, like when you know God close enough and intimately enough, when you feel like God is like literally sitting here telling you, Nick, this is what I need you to do for me. Do you know how easy it is to be locked in and to be focused? That can come across to somebody like you're impatient, like you're arrogant, like you're a know-it-all, right? Because I'm telling them this is what needs to be done. They're looking at me, who does this guy think he is? But I just had a 3-hour conversation, sit down with God, and he told me this is what he need me to do. So either get on board and help me or get the hell out of my way, unapologetically, but respectfully, you know? And so to me, that's maybe the pressure. Like I'm dealing with something right now. Like I was working with this dude in the gym and we were doing stuff and like I was doing my thing. And then all of a sudden, you know, like out of nowhere, like the gym time is cut for no good reason. Like we're working out. I'm working out guys on one half of the gym. He's working out guys on the other. And all of a sudden I can't work out my guys for no good reason. Like, and it's hard for me not to be mad, to be angry because like, while you're being petty, at least I think you're being petty, man, I'm trying to save this dude's life. Man, F this basketball. I don't have time to waste. So while you over here laughing and being petty and stuff like that, God is using me to save this dude's life. And so like, I'm not going to be comfortable. I'm not going to be content and chill out and be patient about that because his life is on the line. But you over here, you going to screw me out of gym time. You know what I'm saying? Or you going to turn me off. Like I done had so many people like, blow me off, lie to me, do all these things while I've been in here in Dallas. It's because they're threatening me. You know what I'm saying? Like Deion Sanders once said in his Hall of Fame speech, people don't condone what they've never seen. He said the things I've done, they've never seen. You know what I'm saying? And I feel that. Like me being somebody that is using my platform, a lot of these people, a lot of these trainers, they just stealing money. They just attaching themselves because they can make money.
Right.
I've lost more money than I've made doing basketball over 10 years, but I've saved more lives. Like God has used me. I should say God through me has saved lives. You know what I'm saying? And so, that's what I'm on. That's why I appreciate you, because your talent is going to allow me to get my message out, because there's a lot of kids. There's a lot of kids that God is using me to save, and it's going to, we're just going to continue to level up and do that. So.
Yeah, dude.
Yeah, man.
Sometimes I just like to be quiet because
I feel you, man.
A lot of people, there's a need to talk too much in today.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't mean that in a negative way, but it's like the whole purpose is to share stories like that. Like when you know you have a purpose, your pressure isn't with other people, it's with you.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That's what you meant. Like there's a pressure, but not because I feel pressured because of this guy. I don't know. I've been walking in my own path and my own journey, like with my purpose. And like, again, like I'm really starting to see it as a facilitator, like, point guard of life, if you will. Like that's what I feel like I'm supposed to be. So yeah, I feel you, bro. Like that misconception that like you trying to go out and get it is arrogant or, and it's funny. I don't really get that feedback a lot, but I can see how other people might see it that way. And I've definitely had, like I told you, like people who, or like, who does this guy think he is? Or like, who does this, whatever. And again, it's not, it's when you know what you're meant to do, you go out and do it. And people don't like seeing other people do it.
They don't. Yeah. Sometimes it's about perspective. Like God puts you in people's life to inspire them, but they can't handle it. It attacks their insecurities. You know what I'm saying? Like, who does he think if you don't have a few people saying, who does he think he is? You're probably not doing it right. Because like I tell people all the time, like, God's light, like when you humble yourself before God, you get that light. Like I got God's light in me. And people that don't know God, like I know God, they see God's light in me, and God's light is big. God's light is strong. God's light is powerful. Like God's light, that swag hit different. I got people like walking around. I live at home with my mom right now. I drive a car like it don't even got no door handle on the back door right now. You know what I'm saying? A sacrifice for what God's calling me to do. You know what I'm saying? Walking around like writing this book, beard, not having a haircut. I wasn't chopped up like I was. People like, how does he have this swag? And that bothers him. I got all this money. I got this, I got that. And so then instead of like connecting with me, or talking with me, or let me help this dude out. You know what I'm saying? Because there's something about him. People, like God's light is so strong in me, sometimes it prevents people from helping me because they're competing what they think with me, but they're competing against God's light. And I'm like, all right, dude, good luck competing. Good luck with that when you ain't going to win. And what's crazy is it's like, why are you're competing with me for something that you have too? It would be like the equivalent of me. It would be the equivalent, like, people competing with me for my blessings. Like my blessing is my blessing. That would be, we're in the Olympic season. That would be like somebody that runs the 100 competing with this dude for the 400 meters. Bro, that ain't even your race. There's a gold medal for both of us. Like if you just run your race, you can get the same gold medal I can, the same attention I can. But you over here making it harder for me to run my race. So now, and I'm going to still get the gold medal because what God got for me, it may be harder. It may be more difficult, but I'm going to get that. But you running the wrong race.
You sabotaging yourself.
Right.
You're trying to sabotage someone else.
Yeah. We all can win. We all can win. We're all created to win because it's a race of one-on-one. We're not competing against the person to the left, the person to the right. And so because we're not competing with them, right? we're on the same team. When I see you run your race and I see you train for your race, I can get inspired knowing I can do that. If I do those same things that you're doing with your race, it's going to allow me to win my race. Like we're on the same, like USA, that's the perfect example, right? Team USA, like at the end of the day, the most important thing is how many gold medals can Team USA bring home?
Wow.
Right? And nothing's more important than that. We get a 100-meter over here. We get a 400-meter. We got basketball over here. Like, that's what God is doing for us in life. How many lives can we change? How many lives can we save? How can we make the world a better place? Those are the gold medals as we're running this race, this thing called life for God. So we got to stop competing. We got to stop getting insecure when we see the person to the left, to the right winning. Because when this person wins, we're all winning. You know, and when I see you running your race, I'm going to rally. I'm going to cheer. I'm going to help you train. And if you lose, I'm going to pick you up and help you figure out how to eventually win it, and so on and so forth. Unfortunately, like, we don't live in a world like that.
And that makes people mad when you're cheering for them when they're hating you.
Big mad.
It's like, why are you cheering for me, bro? I'm like, that's a big mindset shift. And I want to, like, whoever's listening to this, rewind and listen to that again. Because, bro, like, imagine a world where we're all just, there is no negative comparison. I think there's a healthy threshold of seeing others and learning. But when you start attaching hate and negativity to that, you become bitter, you become counterproductive. Again, you're like tripping yourself in that 400-meter dash. Like, you're supposed to be doing this, but you keep falling on other people's toes when you ain't even supposed to be in that path. So look, if you're listening to this right now and this is like, you feel hurt, because there's like a, if you think the way that we're telling you not to think, you're probably like, bro, what are these people talking about? Like, check that. Like analyze how you're feeling right now. And like, because I mean, again, acknowledge failure. If you're feeling that way about somebody right now, about me, about, you know, if you're listening to this, bro, ain't nobody gonna make you run your race except you. And ultimately, you know, I believe in the, obviously I'm a believer, I'm a Christian, and I'm always gonna speak that. To the person who's listening to this who doesn't follow me because of that and follows hustle culture just because of the vibe and everything, and you don't want to attach it to that, don't. Attach it to like you and your growth and the people around. Like, you don't have to be negative. Like, you can literally just do your thing, bro. And I just think that's so important for people to get, because when you don't, when you're just constantly comparing yourself to everybody, you're just digging a bigger hole for yourself.
Yeah, no
I've
doubt.
been there.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we've all been there at one point.
No doubt.
And we've had to fail through that. But yeah, man, there was a portion of your book that you read in the session that I was a part of. It was about a rocky foundation.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted, if you would, talk about that a little bit, because that struck me, and you know, I've been editing pieces for that, and I've been talking about that, and that hit me different, because that's all we've been talking about this whole time. It's really like developing a strong mental foundation in your life, and like, you know, that foundation involves you cheering on other people and not comparing yourself. That foundation involves you know, wanting to share the right stories and not wanting to glorify the things that aren't meant to be glorified. Like, so yeah, if you're listening to this is a portion of Nick's book, God in Basketball, and you know, I'm gonna link everything in the description if you want to read it yourself.
Yeah, if I'm gonna talk about that, I gotta show the picture of my girl Mac, man. So this is, first of all, like, this is what I like about my book. I basically told the book company I want to make a book that appeals and relates to people, a lot of people that don't read books. If you're a reader, like, it's good because it's a devotional book. So I wanted to have basketball cultured images, but I had to shout out Mac. Mac is somebody that we lost Mac about 4 or 5, maybe 4 years ago, but I trained her. She's special. you know, like loved hoops, just loved people, lost in a car accident. So that devotional is different or special to me because of her. But, you know, basically, and you touched on something, you know, like I'm a dope, I'm a vibe, I'm a whole vibe. And, you know, I have people that I can sit, like I go to this coffee shop and we have Bible studies, like with strangers. Like it just happens. It's just a vibe. They'll come and see what I'm reading, so on and so forth. But I mean, like for every one of those, I have friends that I never like really talk biblically about, you know? So, I say that to say like, man, like, you know, respect what makes somebody them. Like if, you know, you're not a Christian, one of my best friends is a Muslim. He respects, you know, what my faith does for me, the fruit of my faith. You know, so like I can learn stuff from anybody, you know, and vice versa. I never, and I know you're the same way, never want to push your faith on people. And so if that is you, this is still something, and that what makes me feel good about the book.
Yeah.
I've had a lot of people that aren't necessarily into their faith, but they respect the biblical principles in a way it's told, in a way that makes them feel comfortable, that doesn't make them feel judged or, you know, read down to or written down to, I should say. But this one, the biblical principle about, basically it's taken from the biblical principle about the parable of two men. They built their house. One built their foundation of their house on rock. One built it on sand. And like, it's basically, the book is using biblical principles and tying basketball stories to it. And so I talk about my man at when we were playing at Iowa State. He's a freshman, super talented. First game was Missouri, playing Michael Porter. He played the same position as Michael Porter. And, you know, we got there in August and he was talking sweet, you know, man, it's about to be, you know, it's about to be easy. I'm about to be hooping. You know, I'm looking at him like, dog, like Michael Porter is, you know, he's 6'10". I mean, he can do everything. Like, what are you doing? You know what I'm saying? Like, if Michael Porter is the best player in the country, you're going to be guarding him. And you're not working as hard as he's working. You're working out once a day, not going as hard as you can. The last one in the workout, the first one to leave. I'm good, man. You know, I'm a 4-star recruit. I'm decorated, this and that. And I keep telling them. Right. So it's like at some point as a trainer, as a coach, just like in life, when you're mentoring people, you got to let them learn the hard way. So cool, whatever. Like we get to the game, and as soon as we get to the game, like he get his ass toe up. You know what I mean? Like and was just like a deer in headlights. Like, man. And I just remember looking at him in the locker room, and it was just like that look of like, dang. And that's when he found out the foundation of his game was built on sand. Going back to this parable, Jesus tells this parable. He said the storm came, 2 houses, one built on sand, one built on rock. The storm came, the one that was built on sand, that rock looked just like looked like the one that was built on rock, the one that was on sand. But when the storm came, man, that thing fell quick. But this house that was built on rock, like it was unbreakable. It didn't move. And so, you know, like after that, he started trying to work on his game, but it was too late. You know, because like the season now, we're playing every week. We go from playing Missouri to playing Kansas to playing Oklahoma.
Yeah.
There's no time to build the foundation of your game.
Wow.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So that had to be built. Like you can't wait for the storm to come to say, I'm going to build a strong foundation to withstand it.
Yeah.
And you have to be real with yourself before you journey towards greatness in whatever it is you're pursuing, to make sure that I'm going to build a strong foundation. And like when we played the easy games, like we had a scrimmage and we played this and we did inter-squad scrimmages, like his foundation didn't get exposed. But when we played on the bright lights on national TV in front of everybody, his house crumbled, so to speak. His game crumbled, and it ain't nothing he could do. And he had to accept that. And the look he had in the locker room was just that look that you have, that feeling you have where like, I can't blame anybody but myself. He didn't have a peace of mind to say, I put everything I have into it. So it's the same thing in life, man. Just take advantage before you embark. A lot of people get going on their journey and then find out, you know, 6 months in, you know, a few years in, this marriage, this relationship, this job, this podcast, this book was built on sand. No, don't lie to yourself. Look yourself in the mirror and build it on a strong foundation.
Dude, that's amazing. Build your foundation before the storm comes.
On
Don't
rock.
wait for the storm. On rock, yeah.
On rock.
Dude, I love that, man. I wanna personally thank you. I want to thank you for coming on, and I want to thank you for more than that, transcending this favor that you're doing me by coming on this podcast, transcending that, for being authentically you, and for being courageous enough to say the stories the way you say it. Because I mean, I think it's important that you share your truth and you talk about you're vulnerable and you do all these things that I really admire in people. So I just want to tell you that, man. Like, and that's, I've told you that off camera. I'm gonna keep telling you that off camera, but I want to give you your flowers too on camera, because it's important, and I want more people to be like that. Because and that's the point, right? That's the point of this thing. Like I said a lot of things, like I want Dallas to be this way, I want this to be that way. The main thing is I want people like you to feel like you're in a community of other people that are like that. And when I tell people with hustle culture, like I want people to rest it, to rep it, like, oh, this is my family. Like I mean, you said it when you were writing that book. You had those 4 little sisters that kept you accountable and kept you doing that. And that's what I want to build for somebody like yourself, and for other people who maybe are listening to this and be like, man, I really vibe with that dude. If you vibe with him, you're probably like-minded. And I want you to like really engage in this community and be a part. Because I mean, like, look, I don't care if you follow, I don't care if you like, I don't care if you subscribe, but I care that you go and DM Nick and like build that connection. I care that you go comment and be like, yo, this part was cool. Because then that allows someone else to come on. Again, using social media for what it's for, like actual connection. Like, so, man, thank you for being a part of this. Thank you for helping me spread the message of hustle culture. And I just empower you, bro. Like, keep doing what you're doing. Obviously, we work together, so I'll be a part. But yeah, man, thank you. Again, I tell you this. I've told everybody else who's come on the podcast at this stage, like, you ain't getting nothing out of this. I ain't got no clout for you. I ain't got no money for you. So I appreciate it, and I really do appreciate you coming on and sharing your voice on this platform.
Yeah, no doubt. I appreciate being here. I think that you can see the genuineness, the authenticity. Like when you talk about building a foundation like this, the foundation of what you're doing, your whole movement, is built on rock. It's built on the right stuff. So I know it's going to take off. And, like, it's probably going to be like my book and everything else. It ain't going to go from 0 to 100, but it's not supposed to, because you're just going to continue to develop, the character and the talent and all that. But I'm appreciative to come on early and say, I was a day one kind of guy. It's nothing like day one love. So now I appreciate it. I do want to make sure, like, encourage, people listening, follow me, Culture or Die. But man, go check out my book, especially if you are a competitive person, if you have an athletic background, godxbasketball.com. If you get it off of Amazon or Barnes & Noble, we need that 5-star review. So yeah, help me out and then promote it, man. Just if you enjoy it, man. I just want to share this with as many people. And, man, look out for the content with what we doing, man. It's about to be dope. So, yeah, I'm excited about our collab for sure.
Let's get it. So, yeah, if you're listening, go buy the book. Go follow him. Culture or Die. Go do all that good stuff. I'll have everything linked in the description. If you're listening on Spotify or on Anchor or on Apple Podcasts, it'll be in that description as well. But, I mean, Culture or Die. Go see that first. But yeah, man, it's been a really cool episode. I really appreciate it. And this has been another episode of Hustle Culture. I hope that you guys keep going. And I always say this, it's on my Instagram, it's everywhere. Like, just keep going. And whatever you're trying to build, whatever you're trying to do, whatever you're trying to, like, create, just don't stop creating it. And eventually, like, the flowers will come. The things that you want to do will come. So just keep going. Keep going. Y'all have a good week. It's been another episode.